cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way where you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot pray. I need to find relief.
Hey family, welcome back to another episode of Peace of Mind, where we value our health, our body, and our time. And I have a great friend of mine, brother of mine here. We have Chris Smith today. Talk to the people, Chris. Tell them a little bit about yourself.
What's up, good people? My name is Chris Smith. I was born and raised near the Atlanta area. Shout out GCO.
Shout out GCO.
Went to school, college at UGA. Shout out Terry College of Business.
Shout out Terry College of Business.
And now I live and work in New York.
Okay. How do you like New York?
New York is fun. It's a good city. It definitely keeps you on your toes, I would say.
Okay.
I like that aspect and all the new experiences that come with, New York and just all the busyness and craziness that kind of goes on there.
Okay, that's what's up. And how long have you been in New York?
I've been there about a year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah.
And feeling good about it?
I'm feeling good. I'm there for the meantime.
Yeah.
So.
Chris loves New York. I can tell. He loves it so much.
Yeah.
He definitely has embraced the culture, took it on by storm. So it's really good to see him out there thriving and liking where he currently is at. Okay, cool. So today we brought Chris on because Chris recently got back from South Africa. So we are going to be talking about not only his trip to South Africa, but his solo trip that he did just a couple of weeks ago. And Chris went to Johannesburg and Capetown, if I'm correct, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, cool,
Correct.
cool.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. So I'm really excited to talk about this. This is a very cool experience. I believe to be a unique experience, especially just people in general getting to travel, and black men too, black people as well, getting to experience different parts of the world. So I guess my first question to you is, what made you decide to go to South Africa?
Yeah, of course. So 2023, I'll be real, it's been a year, and I wanted to do something that really capped off the year in a meaningful way. Okay. So I would say I started planning this trip really around the summertime, June, July timeframe. Okay. And living in New York, I feel like I've been exposed to different cultures, and especially being black in New York sort of exposes you to different parts of the African diaspora, because it's so diverse.
Okay.
So I was put on last year to a genre of music called Amapiano.
Okay.
It's very house adjacent.
Okay.
And it was really birthed in South Africa.
Really?
Yeah, so it really consumed my Spotify Wrapped in 2023 as completely 4 out of 5 songs.
Wow.
And the one that wasn't was Gonna.
Okay,
so,
cool. Alright, shout out.
So yeah, and so I wanted to experience sort of in person this year, the vibes on a piano, and as I was put onto the music, I did more research into the country and lots of the nature there, and lots of the activities, and a lot of people don't know that about South Africa, but there's so many little sightseeing and so many things that you can do in the country, so that's kind of what really inspired the trip.
Okay, for you to do the trip and for you to specifically do the trip to South Africa and Cape Town.
Correct, yeah. Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
that makes sense. And can you tell them when did you go, how long did you went, how many days it was, and stuff like that too?
So I was there for 10 full days, if you count. Long time, right? Yeah. If you count travel, it was 12 days. So I went there on the 11th and got back to the U.S. and Atlanta on the 23rd, right in time for Christmas with my family and stuff.
Okay.
But yeah, the flight over there is no joke, y'all. It's 15 hours.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you how long the flight was again.
15 hours on the way there. It's longer coming back.
Yeah.
So that's from Atlanta. So
why is it longer coming back? It just felt longer.
Something with the Earth.
Rotation.
I don't know.
That's what they said.
Someone told me
Okay.
something with geography. I think maybe people online know a little more than I do.
Right.
Something with the way that you circle the Earth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That it was longer going back
Yeah.
than it was going.
Yeah.
Okay, and did you sleep a majority of the flight there? Kind of what was the vibes on your way, going from Atlanta to South Africa? What's that journey like?
So on the way there, I just felt like I was excited, kind of anxious, so I didn't really sleep that much.
Okay, yeah.
I was kind of up watching movies and stuff.
Yeah.
And on the way back, I was kind of I think I flew out at 11 p.m. South Africa time back to the U.S.
Okay.
So I definitely slept on the way back a lot. I actually had the whole row to myself because
Oh, wow.
I was the only person who bought a ticket in that row.
Oh, that's really good.
So I looked out in that circumstance, but yeah.
Should have opened up the little bridges and just took a little nap, made you a little bed.
I know. No, I did, yeah.
Okay.
So on the way back, I was able to put the armrest up and lay down.
Okay, so you was good.
Yeah,
Okay.
that was good.
All right,
Yeah.
now. I like that. And how did you fly? Spirit?
Oh, no, we don't do that. Delta Airlines.
Right, you know I had to throw that in there because
Yeah,
I
I
do
do.
like Delta. Chris love his little Delta
I do,
Airlines,
I do.
as he should.
Yeah.
Delta is good. Okay, cool. That's what's up. So that kind of like got us to like the trip, and then I mean I hinted it at first, but my next question was like, who'd you go with, right? And then obviously you went by yourself solo, but kind of like what inspired the solo trip, or how did we get to the solo part of the trip?
I mean, that's a good question. I just feel like, you know, when you travel solo, and it's kind of been a goal of mine for a while, it's like you do learn a lot about yourself.
Yeah.
And I think it takes a specific type of person to be able to do that. So it was definitely like over the course of the 10 days while I was there, like a good moment of personal growth and development.
Yeah.
Just being able to navigate things by yourself, and like, y'all, I'll be honest, like this was my first time not on US soil. So even like navigating like customs and like passport stuff and like doing that stuff, you know, a lot of it was like a lot of research on the front end that I had to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, you know, I'll be honest, I did have a couple friends. So I had, you know, a friend in Johannesburg and a friend in Capetown. So while I kind of traveled solo, stayed solo, as far as like my accommodations, I hung out with friends, you know, throughout the duration of the trip. So I wasn't completely like by myself the whole time.
No, which is honestly good, and that makes a lot of sense too. And I mean, it's good that you have friends who are global around the world and country. And did they get to like show you any like new experiences or additional experiences, or like how was it hanging out with them like while you were there in those two different areas?
It was awesome because I met both of those friends in the U.S.
Yeah.
And so just being able to see them sort of like back home in their element. They even introduced me to some of their childhood friends.
Wow.
So being able to see how that works and like was amazing. And so, you know, I went with a friend to do basically kind of like a safari near Johannesburg.
That's cool.
So that was really nice.
Yeah. I enjoy seeing those like videos and photos and kind of like the different just like wildlife that was around.
Yeah, so like the lions, I'll be honest, got a little close to the car.
Right.
A little too close for comfort.
Right.
But, you know,
okay.
that was fun.
But you made it out unscathed.
Yes, thankfully.
Right. Blessings to God.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what's up. Okay, let's transition a little bit and talk about your stay, the B&B. Like kind of like, where'd you stay? Why'd you choose that specific area and location? And how was that for you while you were in South Africa?
Of course, yeah. So I did a mix of hotels and Airbnbs.
Okay.
So while I was in Joburg, Johannesburg is like the nickname that people call it, just Joburg or Josie.
Okay,
I learned a little bit.
Okay, Joburg. Yeah.
So when I was in Joburg, I did hotels. And I stayed sort of like in the business district of Joburg.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So there were.
So, is that kind of like downtown-ish equivalent to kind of like America's Customs, or no, not necessarily?
It would be kind of downtown. It wasn't like the northern part of the city, I know.
Okay.
But it was definitely like where, you know, where your business people go. So I saw like a lot of offices, business offices. And so like that was pretty cool. So I kind of stayed at like a business hotel, which was cool, but I was obviously just there for leisure.
Okay.
And in Joburg, it was cool because I stayed like, I did 2 hotels in Joburg because actually I did Joburg to Cape Town, back to Joburg.
Right.
And so my first time in Joburg, I did hotels, and it was right near like a nice business center, right near the mall.
Okay.
So I got to see the mall.
Oh, that's really good.
Got to see the mall, got to see Nelson Mandela Square.
Wow.
So it was a lot of like little things I got
like
to see.
historical figures and sites and attributes.
Yeah.
That's actually really cool. And why did you go from Joburg? Why did you go from like Joburg to Cape Town back to Joburg? Like why didn't you just like do one and then back?
So there are like more flights from the States going in and out of Joburg. So it's more of like people's entry point into the country. And so I booked like a round trip flight from Joburg. There would have been like less options, and it would have been more expensive had I done fly back out of Cape Town,
because there's not that many options from Cape Town back to the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I like that. Which one did you like more or better, or
That's
were
what-
they
yeah.
just different?
That's what everyone has been asking.
Yeah.
I would just say they're very different cities. And to give people context, right? Joburg is more towards the northern part of the country. Cape Town's more towards the southern part of the country. And so if you look at the distance, like I flew between the two cities, the flying time is essentially like the same distance of flight that I would fly from Atlanta to New York. So they're very far
Far between the two cities.
between Johannesburg and
Yeah.
Cape Town.
Wait, how long is the flight between Atlanta and New York?
Like
That's
2-ish hours.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. So it was a 2-hour flight.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah. So I mean, as you can imagine, like being born and raised in Atlanta, went to college nearby in the area. Like Atlanta's a very different city from New York. So in the same regard, Joburg and Cape Town are very different cities. Joburg is a little less touristy of a city, I would say.
Okay.
More locals in Joburg. Cape Town, people go to it like it's Miami.
Wow.
People go to it like it's LA because it definitely has that like beach, California, Florida feel to it.
That's interesting to me then, how
Yeah.
like a lot of people like, equivocate that to like Miami or LA, but there's not as many flights going like in and out
Yeah.
of Cape Town.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Okay. So they're different though.
Yeah, they are different.
Alright. If I say Joburg or Cape Town, what comes to mind first?
So Joburg, the people, I feel like Joburg people. I mean, the people everywhere were nice, but Joburg people were pretty nice. Very down to earth people. Cape Town is more so just like the vibes, the nature. Like the nature there is incredible. I got to visit one of the 7 wonders of nature called Table Mountain.
Table Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah.
And
And how was that for you?
It was nice. I was going to hike it up, but then I realized the hike was several hours.
Yeah, it was like, oof.
So I took that cable car
Yeah.
up the mountain.
Okay, cable car. Come on out, efficiency.
Yeah. And Cape Town just has like the beach. The water is very blue.
Yeah.
I mean, you're in Cape Town. You're just seeing like, especially on the waterfront, some really nice houses. Like the houses there are nice and just like mansions essentially.
Wow.
So it was
Compounds. Oh. Do they not call? Yikes. Do they not call them compounds?
I have not heard that terminology.
Oh, you haven't heard the word compounds?
What's that?
I think compounds is like. I only laugh at y'all because I don't like saying things that I don't necessarily not know. So take this with a grain of salt. But I'm pretty sure compound is like a term to like a big house, and I know that's like in Nigerian culture or like African culture as well. Like when they say like we have a compound back home, it's typically
I didn't know
referring to
that.
like a mansion. Yeah,
Okay,
I just
cool.
don't know if it's like equivalates to like
I don't know.
yeah,
to be honest.
but
Yeah.
but then we learn.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Cool. So we talked about the B&Bs. I guess my next question is more so about like the food. How was the food? The price of the food? The taste of the food? Was it different than like American cuisine? Like, talk to us a little bit about the food and paint a picture for us.
Of course, yeah. So just full stop. The food was some of the best I've had in my entire life.
Your life. Wow.
Yeah, they're really big on their meats. So I got like, of course, while I was there, I had to get some steak. The steak was good. The lamb was really good. And so everything was like pretty much fresh. And I think coming from America, where we have all those preservatives and GMOs, I could taste the difference in the food.
Wow.
Yeah, and so the dollar transfers very well there. So like, what you're able to get for your money there compared to here, like if you're an American making American dollars, you go to South Africa, you're getting a steak dinner for like $20 or less.
That's great. That's crazy.
And the steak was quality steak.
And it was good.
It was good.
Yeah.
So
you was living lavish.
I was. The steak was good. And as far as like fast food, like they have Nando's, which is like I guess people associate it more with the UK,
Really?
but I didn't know like the Nando's was started in South Africa. So it's a South African like chicken spot.
Chicken place.
Yeah, so I had that. That was good. And they're really big, like huge on their KFC. Like,
oh, really?
KFC here, like you see it every now and then, but like
Yeah.
it's like McDonald's there, where it's like on every single corner.
Wow.
But I saw a lot of KFC there.
Dang.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I wonder if they make their KFC like products the same as they make them here.
I did eat at KFC. The menu was a bit different.
Oh, really?
Especially like with the flavorings they have.
Yeah. I mean, like even like with the lack of like preservatives or GMOs, like you were saying, it probably could be. I don't know if it's healthy, but maybe it's a lot healthier than kind of like how we make our fried chicken here, though.
Yeah.
I haven't been to KFC in a while.
Yeah. I went to South Africa, so.
Yeah.
It was good.
Have you been here like lately?
Last time, I mean, that $5 fill-up, I don't know if it's still there because
Yeah.
inflation, but
I don't know that.
you don't know the $5 fill-up?
No, I've never been like a KFC
Okay.
ever.
That's good, yeah. I'm more of a Popeyes guy though, if I'm being
Yeah, I was
honest.
about to say.
Yeah.
I mean, I know they have like that big bucket of chicken.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Okay, well, overall, the food was good.
It was good. The coffee too.
Okay.
So I'm a big coffee drinker,
Yeah.
and the coffee there was amazing. So yeah, I went to this place. It's a chain called Bootlegger Coffee, and I went there honestly like 3-4 days in a row, and the coffee was really good. So
And this was in Joburg or Cape Town?
that was in Cape Town.
That was in Cape Town. Cape Town has great coffee.
Yeah,
Did you get coffee in Joburg?
I did. I got coffee at the hotel,
Oh, okay.
and even the hotel coffee was really good.
Really?
Better than Starbucks here.
Better than Starbucks?
Yeah, I'm standing on it too.
Right.
Yeah.
You should. You know they have that thing going on Starbucks right
Oh,
now with
you're
the with the little.
All right.
Well, we go transition. they got Starbucks got stuff going on, so
Yeah, they do.
that's all we gonna say. My next question is more so. Oh, but before I get to that, I guess my last question on that was kind of like, did you have like a favorite meal or like food or something like that that kind of like sticks out or resonates?
Yeah, so I went to one restaurant, I think it's called like the Butcher Shop or something like that.
Yeah,
And it's like basically where you get to choose your own cut of meat, like you get to pick it out.
yeah.
And so I went there and I was in Cape Town, and
Okay.
I tried Wagyu steak. So.
Okay. Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah. Wagyu.
I think it's Wagyu.
Okay, yeah, I tried whatever it is, I tried it.
He tried. He tried the last.
And it was good, so
Yeah.
that was probably my favorite meal.
Okay.
Yeah,
Wow. Shout out to the Wagyu.
yeah, shout out.
Shout out. Okay, good. My next thing is the interactions. Okay, so tell us a little bit about like the excursions you went on, some of the interactions. I know you said that you took the cable car up to Table Mountain, so that was one of them for sure. But like, what else did you do while you were there? What did you enjoy? What did you not enjoy? Like, what is some of those things?
Yeah, so Cape Town has definitely like a lot of the excursions part of it. A lot of the nature part. I'm a big nature person, so Table Mountain was cool. I took the cable car up to Table Mountain, and then they also have what's called Boulders Beach, and so it's essentially like an African penguin colony.
What is that?
They have African penguins there, like
Oh,
penguins,
okay.
and so.
Yeah, actually.
I don't think I had ever saw a penguin in person
Yeah.
before going to South Africa, but I saw penguins there, and I feel like that's like my new favorite animal.
Wow.
Like the penguins, they were like
Was
some cool animals.
yeah.
And you got to read about them and how they came from Australia and New Zealand, but the penguins in South Africa are like different from the other penguins.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely very cool. And then I went to what's called the Cape of Good Hope, and that's the most
The Cape of Good Hope.
yeah Cape of Good Hope.
What is that?
That's the most southwestern point in the African continent.
Okay. That's the most southwestern point
Yeah.
in the African continent.
Yeah, so it's like a little, it's basically kind of like a park where people go into it, and you have to drive probably like 15 minutes into the park to get to that specific point.
Wow. Was it nice?
It was nice. The views were incredible,
Yeah.
for sure. A lot of people think it's like the most southern point of Africa, but really that's like a little more towards the east. This one is like, and when you go to actually the most southern point, I think you can see like where the Indian and Atlantic Oceans like meet.
Wow.
So they obviously like, they don't like
Lit.
blend together. So they're two separate. You can kind of see that they're two separate colors of the
Yeah.
oceans. I didn't get to
The
see that
colors.
one,
Oh,
but
yeah.
next time,
Next time you
I will see
because
that.
he does have plans on
Hopefully,
right
turn it
going
back.
again in the future. Okay. That's
Yeah.
what's up. That's what's up. Do you know like the Cape it was called the Cape of Good Hope?
Yeah.
Does that stand for something or is that symbolic for something? I'm not sure.
I don't know, to be honest. I did see when I was there like a cross somewhere.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it has some kind of
Okay.
religious significance
Yeah,
behind it.
symbolic meaning.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, y'all. This protein shake is amazing. Okay, cool. And then, like, do you have any other thoughts or comments in terms of kind of like sites that you saw? I know they're kind of like all blending together, but
Yeah.
if not, that's cool. But like, just like your overall perspective from like the sites of like another country in comparison to like America or like
Yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, definitely like, and I honestly haven't experienced as much of the West Coast as I've kind of wanted to
Okay.
in the U.S. at least. And so the West Coast kind of reminded me of the pictures I've seen from the West Coast,
Yeah.
on like the mountains and like the beach and stuff.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, so I would say like as far as what I saw, I mean it was like the most scenic. Cape Town was the most scenic city I think I've been in. But you know,
It's getting a lot of honorable shout outs to
Yeah,
Cape Town.
it
right
is.
now. I
Cape
asked
Town
you
was-
earlier about Cape Town and Joburg.
Joburg was fun too though. Joburg was cool.
Joburg need to come on with the come on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what's up. All right, and then I think my last like subcomponent, my last subcomponent question on that area is kind of like just the overall culture of South Africa. You know what I'm saying? Like your perspective just on South Africa.
Yeah. So I guess where I'll start is, you know, living in the U.S., right? Sometimes growing up, you know, there has been some perceived tension
Okay.
between African and African American cultures, and just like the way that we interacted with each other.
Okay.
But when I went over there, I mean, it was all love. I mean, there were people who told me like, "Welcome home," even though like they knew it was my first time on the African continent. So the people were really nice. The culture, I mean, was amazing. I felt like, especially living in New York, you know, New York is known not to be the nicest place in the world. And I try to gloss over those things and highlight the good things in New York, but
A little bit.
it was apparent when I was there that like, wow, like this is a nice, you know, like a nice, the people here are nice.
Yeah.
Even when I was getting coffee, like I had already put my tip in.
Yeah.
And they were asking about my day and asking about different things. I'm like, they're not even working for their tip, like they're just doing it from the
Kind
nicest of their heart.
Yeah.
And so that was an experience. I mean, all the Uber drivers I had, Uber is a very good option to get around South Africa, like within the cities. It's really pretty affordable.
Yeah. That's good.
All the Uber drivers I had were, you know, very nice. They made good recommendations of things to do in the city and just had some really good hospitality.
Yeah.
So I would say on the hospitality front, like South Africa won me over.
Good, right?
Yeah.
That's really good. And like for people who might not know, there are Ubers and Lyfts.
Yes,
and
like
taxis.
it's
I
not.
know some people assume that in other countries that they might not be like familiar with or
Yeah.
knowledgeable with, like they might not know how to get around, but they still have that modern technology.
They do.
Okay, just throwing it out there,
Yeah.
informational purposes. Okay, cool. So that's what's up in terms of the culture of South Africa. What did you learn from solo traveling? So not even necessarily South Africa or Cape Town or Joburg. Like you can definitely include those points too. But I know you touched on it a little bit earlier. But just like the overall lessons and experiences of solo traveling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say like it definitely builds a lot of confidence in yourself because especially when planning the trip, I had to plan it based on my own accord.
Yeah.
So of course I was able to ask, you know, I mentioned I had friends in both cities, ask them what to do, and I'll be honest, I even asked like ChatGPT, like, hey, what's a 10-day
That's really
itinerary in South Africa? And it gave me good
yeah,
stuff.
some good stuff.
Yeah.
Dang.
But it's just where everything was on your own accord, it was a bit different. I think the moment of arriving in South Africa, you get there, you're kind of like, holy crap, like I did this by myself. It kind of instills like a bit of confidence in you that you can sort of handle something like that, that you can do something. Obviously, wherever you go and whoever you travel with, it's important to be safe.
Yeah.
I just made sure, like solo traveling, also that I took the precautions necessary to be safe. So, of course, like constantly checking in with friends and family. I even had like a shared album that I uploaded all my pictures and videos to. One, because my friends and family wanted to see my photos, but also like I created kind of an audit trail of where I went throughout the day.
Okay.
So if anything happened, like they would know. So I would just say like safety, you know, you learn a lot about like best practices in safety. I mentioned the confidence piece earlier, like confidence to be able to plan something, to be able to do something,
Yeah.
but also confidence in like your interactions with other people
Yeah.
and how it is, right? Like getting to know other people and like building relationships, right? And getting to know people when you're just, you know, out, you know, somewhere.
Yeah.
It really is like, you have to stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
You
okay.
know?
Come on, Charles. Yeah.
Because it's like, you know, you have to, no one's there to like introduce you to somebody or, you know, say this, say that. You kind of have to walk up to the person that you want to talk to and do your little pitch, you know?
Talk to them, yes.
Talk to them and stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, stand on your own 2 feet. No,
Yeah.
for sure. I definitely, that's what's up. Okay, so like, yeah, one of the biggest things from like solo traveling is really like holding yourself accountable, I guess,
Yeah.
in a sense of like, okay, if you want something to get done, and then get it done, because
Yeah.
there's nobody else who's
Nobody
willing
else.
to
Yeah.
do it, for lack of better
Yeah.
words. Yeah.
And I would say also like I love like shared experiences with others. Like don't get me wrong, I love that aspect.
Yeah.
And like outside of my pictures and videos, there's nobody else here in the U.S. Like none of my family or friends that I can like have that shared experience with that of being in South Africa. So like being able to learn how to like tell a story like I'm doing right now.
Yeah.
Because it's not like my family went with me, so it's like I'm kind of recounting my experience to them. It's also like a good skill to have because when I'm telling my stories, I want them to feel like they were there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
I like that. I definitely feel that right now.
Thanks.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Okay, cool. That's what's up. That was a good recap about the solo travel. My next question is, what are some challenges about the trip? What went wrong? What was unexpected? What was some things that you had to like adapt or shift from? Because nothing is perfect, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say like one thing I also learned, like, for context, I'm a very like, if I make a plan, I can stick to it type of person.
Yeah.
And so there were just times where I had to like change plans around. Like I didn't really get to do everything that I wanted to do in South Africa.
Okay.
There was one time where, a friend I was connecting with in Joburg, he was like, I was supposed to leave Joburg the following day.
Yeah.
He was like, I'm actually having a few people over, you're welcome to come and meet some of my childhood friends.
Yeah.
So I had literally changed my flight last minute.
Yeah.
So things like that you kind of do, that I had to sort of adjust with. When I tell you like my keys in Capetown, like I was struggling with the keys. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Just trying to get in because there were like 3 keys to get inside my unit. So just things like that where you're like, dang, I can't even put the keys in the door.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of all alone, like trying to get the keys to
Yeah.
work. And so things like that typically you would have somebody else to help you work through.
Yeah.
Those are things I had to sort of work through.
Had to self-solution.
Work through my own.
Yeah.
So yeah. But I would say like overall, like things went better than I probably could have hoped for.
Okay.
And it was smooth. There was barely any turbulence.
Okay.
Smooth sailing.
Little turbulence. Not too much rocking of the boat.
Exactly. The plane was steady.
Okay, the plane was steady.
Yeah.
Okay, took off, did a little well, maybe had like a little normal,
You know what? It's what's expected.
Right.
It's not
Getting up to
crazy.
high altitude.
Yeah.
Okay.
35,000 feet.
Right. Oh, so you was up there.
I was up there.
On the moon. Okay, cool. What would you rate the trip? 1 out of 10.
I'd honestly say it's a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I know that's a bold statement.
Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, but I would say it's a 10 out of 10.
If you feel it, then you feel it for sure.
I had a great time.
Yeah.
Met some really great people. Had some really good food. And for it to be my first international trip, too,
Yeah.
like, I had an amazing time. So I'm definitely like going to do more international travels as well because I just feel like I even learned a lot about like what it means to be American.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
By going to other places and other cultures too.
Yeah, especially like as a Black American
Yeah.
because Black Americans, like we identify with our cities. I'm from ATL. I'm from New York. I'm
Yeah,
from
we
LA.
do.
That's what we we even make nicknames for them, like
Yeah, we do.
where the players play.
Right.
So it's kind of like being able to go to a different country and someone saying they can tell by your accent, like, oh, he's American, especially in African country because most of the people were Black.
Yeah.
So like going there and having to identify as an American was definitely like a unique experience. And you kind of wonder like what it means to be American because I just feel like Black Americans, we don't always identify with America to a certain degree.
Kind of like siloed in a certain sense, as being like the minority of
Yeah.
like the country for sure, most
Yeah.
definitely, and then even more so in specific areas or departments. So I could definitely see that. Okay. Did you learn like any like skill sets or anything from it? I know one of the things that you said, kind of like standing on business, like standing on your own, but is there anything that you kind of like apply or use now that you're back here, like in the States, like here in Georgia, going back to New York or anything like that, or not really?
I think just like some conversations that you have when like you are talking to people, like it's just some conversation starters that I feel like I kind of picked up on in South Africa that I can kind of take with me.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
Things like that. I just
Okay.
feel like I'm probably better at like just having conversations with people, talking to people.
Yeah, being more comfortable.
Yeah.
In the unknown.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And what advice would you give to people who want to solo travel or go out of the country?
I would say like definitely do your research where you can.
Yeah.
I started researching like probably 6 months in advance and made a full itinerary of everything. So where you want to go, like what are probably like the best and safest areas to go, wherever you're staying. Because I did stay, in some of the safest areas. I did that research to make sure I was staying sort of in the best areas of town where I could have stayed.
Because then no trouble.
Did not.
No trouble.
Didn't get one, no turbulence. Thankfully, I didn't get any.
Right. Because of that research.
Yeah, do your research.
Okay.
Be confident in yourself, like know that you can do it, but also just like be safe too. In general, like I feel like being in New York has instilled at least some degree of street smartness in me.
Okay.
So I kind of knew how to like navigate just walking around. But just don't lay your phone down. Don't do those types of things. Like make sure you have all your belongings and make sure you don't leave a drink down. Things like that you wouldn't even do in the U.S.
Yeah.
Continue that practicing when you're abroad.
Okay. Yeah. That's funny because people could get overwhelmed, but I definitely could see how people might not carry over some of like those street senses or street intellectuals or like just best practices in general, not even necessarily like street smart of like what not to do, what to do, because like just because you go somewhere else doesn't mean that you're necessarily protected from all of like the bad incidents that could happen too.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Would you ever go on another solo trip like to a different country?
I would.
Now that you got this one?
I would. I have to figure out where.
Right.
But yeah,
you would.
I would.
Okay. You talked about Joburg having a lot of like nature. Can you talk about like the nature of Joburg and kind of like the nature of South Africa a little bit and kind of like how that site was?
So I feel like more Cape Town has more like the nature.
Okay.
Joburg has a little bit of nature.
Okay.
So Joburg is the city. It's closest to the safari.
Yeah.
So I did my safaris kind of closer to Joburg.
Okay. You did your safaris close to Joburg.
Yeah. Joburg is cool. I mean, even like little things that you're kind of fascinated by that you don't realize, like the trees, kind of like seeing like more like trees, like savanna trees, like not the city of Savannah, but like the nature kind of savanna style trees.
Yeah.
Seeing those, what was cool in Joburg, and just driving around it and seeing that. Cape Town had like the beach and the mountains and stuff, so like that was nice. Even looking out of my Airbnb, I had like a pretty decent view of like the ocean, which was pretty cool. So and there's a lot of different hikes that you can do. Like I didn't even get to do all of them, but like Lion's Head, which is kind of like a peak that people go over. That I'll probably do next time in South Africa, but
2024.
2024 maybe, we'll see. I want to.
Yeah, possibly. Maybe I'll tack on this trip.
Come on.
I was about to say, get my little South African voyage going on too. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's talk about the dancing and the party culture of South Africa and how that was for you, and like just how it is in comparison to like either like black culture, black American culture, or just American culture in general.
Yeah. So I guess like where I'll start on that front is that full stop, December in South Africa is just a crazy, crazy month. Like it is a fun month.
Yeah.
And I kind of did research, so I knew that going into it.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to go somewhere in December where it was warm. So when I was there, it was summer in South Africa, Southern Hemisphere. And so, I mean, I've experienced Atlanta, the scene in Atlanta, the rappers, all that stuff. I've experienced that. You're born and raised in Atlanta.
Okay.
I've experienced New York. In New York summer, like I'll be honest, I advocate for New York. I love New York. New York summer is fun. But like December in South Africa gave New York and Atlanta definitely like a run for its money for sure.
Oh, wow.
It's just fun because people take out for work, and it's just like imagine like it's Christmas time and it's summer outside, and like the flowers are in full bloom, and like the nature is there, and like the sun's out, right? So it was fun. I will say like it was cool to see like Atlanta music on display as well. And that wherever I went, like they played on the piano, they played Afrobeats. They also played Atlanta music. And so Bad and Bougie, Migos.
Okay, come on, Bad.
And it was crazy.
Yeah, because it was like, hold on. Okay, no, that's what's up. Yeah, because I don't know why it comes off as like shocking or alarming. Like
It was
like
like
that,
shocking,
you know what I mean? But like,
especially because like being from Gwinnett, like I grew up 15 minutes away. Like my high school was 15 minutes from where they went to high school,
yeah,
Migos. So it's kind of like hearing that, which is kind of like, whoa, I'm 8,000 miles away,
and still,
and I'm
some
hearing
of
that, and they know the lyrics, and they're
Right.
singing the lyrics because
Yeah.
they all speak English. So imagine like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Do they speak English as their like default language?
So there are 11 languages in South Africa, 11 official languages.
Wow.
Most of the people that I interacted with knew multiple languages. So I was talking to one Uber driver, and he knew 4.
Oh wow.
And some of the languages are less and more common depending on where you are within the country.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tribal languages, like Zulu, for example.
Right.
There's Afrikaans, I believe I'm saying that right. And that kind of existed when the Dutch came from Europe. They created that Afrikaans language. And so typically in school in South Africa, you have to learn more than one language as a part of the schooling system.
Okay.
And so they're definitely fluent in
Oh, wow.
languages.
That's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wish they did that here, like in the
Yeah.
States, where they kind of like it was a requirement to learn,
Especially
multiple
early,
languages because it would be
Yeah.
natural for most
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
because I started taking like a foreign language in high school.
Right.
By that time, it's almost too late.
Right. I take it in middle school. And
Yeah.
Like but if you start people off in pre-K, kindergarten, elementary school, it's just what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's what's up. I feel like this question is redundant, but kind of like, what is one thing you took away from the trip?
Mm. Not that I didn't know before, but something that just kind of resonates with me is like people are people wherever you go.
Yeah.
Like, you know, people will crack jokes with you just like they'll crack jokes with you in the U.S.
Yeah.
You know, people will talk to you just like they talk to you in the U.S. So it's
Yeah.
like, I think America has this like way of like putting ourselves on a pedestal,
we do. Or in a box.
in a box
Yeah.
too, and that we sort of like run the whole entire world, but like we don't. And it was just good to get that perspective. My first international trip,
Yeah.
like people are people wherever you go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's honestly like a really, really good one, and I resonate with that one a lot too, just because on a very, very smaller scale, like even when I'm roller skating, I realize like roller skating is typically a black dominated event,
Mm-hmm.
depending on like what areas you're in, of course, and what type of skating you're doing. But even when I see like people of like different races or different backgrounds, like indulging in those black dominated events, like depending on if it's in Atlanta or if it's in Gwinnett or this, that, and the third, and also just like in the culture of the music and the style of skate, it just gets so like interesting and intriguing because it just reminds me like, yes, a person might be of a different race or ethnicity or like skin tone or skin color, but like that doesn't mean that they automatically don't like certain things or don't want to do certain things. They're not going to interact with people based off of like the high level stereotypes.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you brought up like the diversity in that aspect, because I mean South Africa was incredibly diverse, especially in Cape Town, and so you know the people there are not a monolith. You know there are a lot of course, black people there. There are a lot of white people there as well because the history of colonialism in the country. And there are a lot of Indians there as well. And so being able to see all those cultures in display. And you know, in race, the classification is typically like white, black, Asian, Indian, and they also have what's called colored. And it's not in the U.S. how we. Yes, I know. It's not in the U.S. how we view the word colored being like derogatory. It's like an actual classification that basically means mixed. So when you're over there, you see like a lot of like people who are colored or mixed that like they just look like a combination of like Indian, white, and black all in one. And it was cool to be able to see people who generally like look different, you know. Like, so that was cool to see.
Okay, wow. Sure. That's actually really cool. It sounds really cool. Very eye-opening.
Yeah, it was.
Okay. And do you want to like talk about like, with that being said, talk about like the apartheid of like South Africa a little bit?
Apartheid?
I cannot pronounce that word correctly.
Yeah.
Apartheid of South.
Course.
What did I say? Apartheid.
Apartheid.
The apartheid of South Africa a little bit.
Yeah. So I mean, apartheid in South Africa is essentially like, you know, it's very similar to what we had in the U.S. The racial discrimination that went on and continues to go on in the U.S.
Yeah.
So the apartheid was the word for it there. And so I went to the apartheid museum that's in Johannesburg, which was amazing. It talked about just the history of race in the country and how black people were marginalized in South Africa, which is crazy because like how do you marginalize somebody in their own continent and country? That's just wild to me. But took me aback for sure, and how there were like literally like ghettos created, like sections of town created for those who are white or European versus those who are African. Yeah. And so even when you're riding through South Africa today, you still see like those sort of areas on display. So the areas that I stayed in were honestly like back in the day when apartheid was in effect, it was the quote unquote European or white areas of the town. So I did stay like amongst like a lot of like white people. And I mean I did see like a black middle class there as well, kind of like you would see in the US, but still like I stayed in like white dominated areas of the town because the black areas are further from the city. And so in the apartheid museum, I talked about how essentially like these Africans were displaced from their homes and forced to basically the outskirts of the city where they had to commute far into work. Yeah. And so, we think, oh, this is a thing of the past. But I even felt like when I was walking around in like my area of Cape Town, which was like a predominantly like white area of Cape Town, there were some ladies clenching their purses, and I kind of felt a little something. Yeah. Even just from being in Africa. Yeah, so you think that like you're in Africa, you're immune to all that, but you're not. Wow. So, whenever I go somewhere, I love to be able to learn about and explore like the cultural and historical significance of where I am. Yeah, and the origin. Yeah, because like I'm a tourist, like, I'd be remiss as a tourist to go somewhere and not learn about those aspects. Yeah. So
while you're in those areas. Yeah. No, that's really intuitive and intellectual of you. Honestly, just very smart in terms of like how to navigate the spaces that you're in too. That way, like you're honestly in the best position and like placement of like when you're going to these areas to make sure that you're just up on game, for lack of better words. Yeah. Okay, cool. And Chris, my last question for you and for the people is, if they could take one thing away from this podcast or this episode or from your trip of solo traveling to South Africa, what would that be? Yeah. What would you want them to remember?
I think it's sort of a combination of being authentic, right? Who you are in yourself. So, this was a goal I had for myself, and it was an authentic goal, right? I didn't want to do this because I saw so-and-so and such on social media traveling all over the world. Yeah. I wanted to do it because of myself. So being authentic to yourself and your dreams, but also being able to go after those, and have the ambition to be able to put, your money where your mouth is sometimes. Yeah, no, I agree. I think like that's what this experience has taught me, and that's what I hope the people at home can sort of take away as well. Yeah.
I love that a lot, and I love the execution of that because I feel like that is showing up for yourself in a level of self-love that I was just talking to a friend about, and I know that people want to love themselves, but when you ask people how they show up for themselves or how they provide love to themselves, I feel like that answer could be a tad bit more difficult or complicated. So it's really just cool to hear you show up for yourself in a way of something that when we were talking back when we were in Chicago, that made you a tad bit uncomfortable about just navigating that space, and to hear your mindset post travel just be in a completely different space really just alludes to like your level of like love for who you are as a person and like care and ambition. So that's great to hear. Growth
comes through experiences.
Growth comes through experiences, consistent experiences. Yeah. Well, cool. Chris, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It has been a complete pleasure and delight on my behalf to honestly like hear even more in the in-depths about your South Africa trip and just like how that impacted you positively as a person and also the people who will be listening to it as well.
Thank you. Appreciate you for having me on.
Of course, sure. We'll do it again soon sometime. All right. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of Peace of Mind, where we value our health, our body, and our time. Peace out.
This is the peace that you cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way when you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot pray. I need to find relief. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Send me a love that you cannot mix. One is the joy that you cannot waste, and the other one price that you cannot fix. This is the peace that you cannot buy. Finding a way when you cannot see. Man with this system, he cannot pray. I need to find relief.